welcome to Talk with Taz. I'm Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. Taz, and Talk with Taz is a show that I created some time ago that allows me to interface with experts from across the globe who are making an impact in their community. And sometimes those individuals are educators like we have today. Sometimes they are performers, authors, business owners, entrepreneurs, but it's all about what expertise can they bring to the audience that's going to make a difference. And so today we're talking about how we can make our schools healthier. And when we talk about healthy schools, we're not just talking about the schools, we're talking about the students, we're talking about the families, we're talking about the community and the employees of the schools. Because when you bring all of those pieces together, then you have that healthy school culture. And so I have three wonderful guests with me today. I have Dr. William Hesse. I refer to him as Shane. He's been on my platform before, and his focus is health and wellness and physical education. He's a 20-year vet in education. He's been recognized with numerous awards. He's making a footprint in Arizona, even with the legislators there. He's been recognized as Teacher of the Year. In addition, he is an assistant professor at Arizona State University. Also, we have Matthew Gilbert. Matthew is he's an adjunct instructor, but he's also an assistant principal. And Matthew, like all of us, is concerned about ensuring that our students are successful. And so he actively mentors students and teaches, encouraging a positive and engaging learning environment. Diana, pronounce your last name for me.
Leivas.
Leivas. Diana Leivas is an educator. She's fairly new to education, but she's still tried and true. While she was at the University of Ottawa, she co-founded the SOAR program. And basically this program, to Kai Shane, thank you for, I'm glad you're back with us. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And so Diana was part of the leadership team that created the SOAR program at the University of Ottawa. And so what those students did was they recognized the importance of physical education and health and wellness for students. And so they went into the elementary schools and mentored those students, having a huge impact on how they did academically as well as socially. So today, I want to welcome everybody to the platform. We're going to reset and take a breath because, technology is always interesting. But Shane, where are you at? Is that a real background behind you?
It is. It's not AI generated. I'm out in Granbury, Texas right now.
Well, I'm shaking my head because you're in the right place. I'm looking at your background and I'm saying reset, and you've already reset for us because we've got this beautiful view behind you. So thank you, Shane, for bringing us this beautiful view
Well,
today.
thank you. It's good to reset your minds all the time. That's kind of what we're here to do as well.
Oh,
So appreciate you.
absolutely. Absolutely. As I was saying, Shane, you're no stranger to my platform. You've been on before, and your people are still talking about the gentleman from Arizona and telling me that they agree with what you said. So I want us to kind of bring everybody else who's joining us for the first time and those who are going to be listening to the replay, bring them up to speed. Now, you created, along with colleagues, the ultimate guide to best practices for creating healthy learning cultures, which is a valuable resource for schools, communities, parents, and students. Can you share what inspired you to create the guide and how it has impacted the schools and communities that you've worked with?
The inspiration came from people like yourself and Diana, it's on the line, and Mr. Gilbert, and educators across the country that really want to make an impact on the whole child approach to education, because there's so much more than a test score. That's the impact reason, my why. Besides, when I became a father, to be able to see that my own kids were going to live shorter lifestyles, it really came evident that from the beginning to end, and you'll hear Diana's story today, how it came full circle. But as you continue to see that development from a child in, say, second grade to sixth grade to eighth grade, and what you're going to see is um, Diana's graduated college this year, and she's able to not only design a program like this, but all my colleagues, including yourself, Dr. Taz, the stories and the impact and the amount of work we put in to make our community better. That really is our why behind this. It's a very innovative approach to enhancing the healthy lifestyle for children these days to become what Diana is today. So I'm excited to share more with you guys, and I see Mr. Gilbert made it on, so
Mhm.
we're ready.
Absolutely. Welcome, Matthew. We're glad to see
Thank you
you.
so much.
Yeah. Well, Diana, since Shane mentioned your story, would you give us the Cliff Notes version of your story so we can use that perhaps as a backdrop for our conversation today?
Of course. Yeah, so growing up, sports was very important to me, and I had a lot of amazing mentors and teachers along the way. And so last year, I started my student teaching, and I was with first grade, and I would play with them at recess a lot, and it was so important to them, and they loved it every day. They would ask me, like, are you going to play with me today? And so I joined a sports programming class at Ottawa with Dr. Hesse, and he wanted to make a program that impacted our community. And I was like, well, we have a very high population of athletes at Ottawa, and I thought it would be a great idea for us to come and interact with the students at recess, since I know how impactful it was when I was doing it.
And so now, did you, so that was the beginnings of the creation of the SOAR program.
Exactly.
And so
So,
now, no, no,
sorry. Oh yeah, so we got together with the class, and we pitched it to a few schools. We got to take some needs assessment to see what they exactly needed, and we integrated the SOAR program at 2 schools.
now, as far as the SOAR program, tell us a little bit about the program. So was it just the athletes going in, working with the students during recess, or was there a structured program that you guys were using?
Yeah,
I can.
so, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me start. I'll preface it, and then you can kind of bring it into the admin or your viewpoint. But Dr. Taz, the opening part of this was just our ability to transform traditional recreation and sport and recess periods into structured, engaging, and educational sessions where young student athletes learn sports, teamwork, and the sportsmanship from college athletes. This initiative was designed in multiple objectives: reducing discipline of referrals, fostering positive social interactions, and providing valuable mentorship opportunities. And with the collaboration of the administration at the Kingswood Elementary School with Mr. Gilbert, with our soaring students like Diana Leivas, this is kind of where we took it. And so, Diana, take it from here. But I wanted to preface kind of the mindset of the college professor bringing it, full circle with you guys, and it really was a collaborative approach. And the successes are what you're going to hear from Mr. Gilbert, what those are.
Before you come in, Dan, let me back up just a moment, Shane, because you're setting up something I think the audience needs to know, to be clear on it. Some of us have this idea, like when we were in school, and we had recess, but it wasn't. We may have learned how to play softball. We may have played, some basketball. There may have been some games that we played. But when you talk about recess, what I'm hearing is something that's much more structured, that is building skills, as you indicated, leadership skills, self-regulation skills, that's going to motivate students. It's going to help them with the emotional regulation. I'm hearing something totally different. And I wonder if we need to level set so that parents and those who will watch this on the replay understand or listen to it, understand what we're talking about when we're saying recess, because everybody understands recess from their perspective. And what you're talking about, what happened with the SOAR program, is much more than kids just running and, getting some of their energy out. You're talking about something that is going to support them physically, but also supports their academic attainment. So could you explain recess for us a little bit better?
Yeah, I'll segue that into our experts here as well. But the SOAR student-oriented approach to recess, uh, you could also change that into recreation and sport, depending on your modality. But the initiative aims to alleviate the burden on school administrators, and that's really the conversation that Diana and myself and Mr. Gilbert had at the beginning, as well as teachers who often spend significant time managing recess related issues. So think about structured activities led by trained volunteers and school staff that expect a more positive recess environment. And we're able to provide that overall school climate through the focus with student athletes here in our local community. So the presence of these college athletes provided a dual benefit of mentorship, inspiration, and the K-8 students that we worked with, they looked up to these athletes and guidance and encouraged a healthier, more active lifestyle while fostering positive relationships, aspiration to get to higher education. For some of them, it was the first time that they got an idea of what higher education meant for this family, as well as being able to play in athletics at the next level. The program was unique because it came from our classroom to another classroom in the community. But they did, you're right, they developed leadership skills, engaged in community service, and built meaningful relationships and connections with our younger peers. I heard from my athletes, since we've been doing this for about a year now, that and this is the most impactful part, I think, for myself, my big aha moment was, Dr. Hesse, that was me when I was in third grade.
Yeah, yeah. hmm And that is very impactful, because being able to see themselves, and then for some, they had those internal home or external or internal school supports, but for some, so many, they didn't have that. And now to be able to go back and provide that for future generations is very impactful. Um, Diana, so now, Dr. Hesse has set it up for us. So you guys were in the schools working with a structured program, working with students in a K-8 school.
Exactly. So we would split up and we would go to recess. It would be like a group of 10 of us, and we'd have different activities to offer for the students. So we'd be doing basketball, soccer, even just playing with them at the playground. It was a lot of different activities to structure the recess and to give opportunities for the students to interact with college students and be inspired. It was also amazing too that we did it with Ottawa, because we have such a diverse population of students. We have a lot of international students.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's very important and awesome that the students got to see just like a lot of diversity among the people that were coming in. And so I think that was more inspiring to see, like, role models like themselves, or like they can see themselves going to college and having good role models in front of them. But yeah, it's really been a full circle moment for me now, being a first year teacher and seeing how unstructured recess truly is, because I mean, it's like a free for all. Students are, if there's a ball, they get to play basketball. If not, they get to make up their own games. But I've noticed that there can be so much conflict from such an unstructured recess time. So it's really amazing to see when SOAR comes, the program and the students come to our recess, and the difference that it really is from being non-structured to structured.
And, you know, it's good that you can see the difference now, because you guys went in when you were still in school. In college, everything was structured, but now being in the school, seeing the difference. And that brings me to you, Matthew. You're an assistant principal, so I'm make sure I'm tracking everything. So was one of the sites your school that the SOAR program was able to be implemented? Now tell us why you were open to this. What was it that you saw as far as your school needs and thought that the SOAR program could be an answer?
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a great opportunity, and I was driving to school, and as the assistant principal, one of my main roles is discipline and helping with that process.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I was driving to school one day, and I was like, we need to figure out this unstructured time. What are we going to do? How are we? Because I'm seeing a ton of referrals come in, and I know our students need something. So I was driving to school, and I saw a flyer that Dr. Hesse and Miss Leivas created, and that kind of opened up the doors for us to have a conversation and bring in the University of Ottawa. We started with 5 or 6 Ottawa students coming out to recess, and now in the last week, we've had over 80 Ottawa students on our campus impacting the things that we are doing at Kingswood. So it was it came at the right time, and it was something that we needed, and we are seeing both the benefits because we've had the opportunity to hire great teachers such as Ms. Leivas to come aboard and now be a part of our staff while making an impact in the classroom and during that, like she said, the unstructured, structured time, because we want our kids to play, but they also need to know how to play. And we've seen a reduction in referrals. We've seen an increase in mentorship, and just the climate and culture on our campus has been impacted greatly through this partnership and relationship that we have.
Well, now, Matthew, we've seen a decrease in referrals. I don't know if attendance was an issue that your school was facing, but has the attendance improved also? Because I'm thinking about all the wonderful things that we talked about, the diversity, the leadership, the mentorship. And in my mind, it's like, oh, this is a great thing. So kids are going to want to come to school, which is so important for academics.
Yeah, over the last 2 years and the year that we've been working with the University of Ottawa, we've seen a steady increase in our attendance preschool through 8th grade. And we're over 92% of our students being there each and every day. And one of the other things that we're trying to track as well is teacher attendance as well. And we don't have a lot of teachers taking days off, especially when the University of Ottawa is on campus, because it's their opportunity to work with student athletes from the University of Ottawa coming into their classroom and seeing them at recess. So it's been across our campus. It's not just with students, but it's also with our staff.
Now, and that is wonderful. Now, Matthew, I'm just overwhelmed, and I don't know which way to go. I'm overwhelmed, but my question is, because I got to think like an educator, I got to think like a school counselor, a social worker, a teacher, and we need this in our schools. How were you able to sell it? Because I know you've said that with the students, the college athletes being there, there's been a decrease in discipline referrals. And when you talk about that unstructured time, I understand as a former K-12 educator how unstructured time can really be unstructured time, I'll say it that way, meaning that kids really get in trouble, and it's referral after referral after referral. So, and I know that other schools are trying to figure out how they can decrease referrals at the same time, increase students' attendance, increase their achievement. So how were you able to sell this program to your administrator? In North Carolina, we refer to as our school improvement plan. So that school improvement committee, to your teachers, to your parents, how are you able to sell this idea that this program could help you guys as it related to students? How are you able to do that?
Yeah, it's a pretty easy sell once you start talking, especially, working with my principal last year and our principal this year, because it's tangible. You see the data, you see the students, you see the interaction, you see things happening, and then the data just backs it up, because through the decrease in referrals, and then we have positive referrals, and you can feel the energy on our campus. And when the University of Ottawa students speak, that lends, because our principal and our administration, they're there and they're watching the University of Ottawa students speak as well, and it's very moving and it's very powerful with some of the things that they're doing and the connections that they've made. Because, like Dr. Hesse said and Ms. Leivas said, they remember when they were that age. They remember that grade. They remember being that student. And then now you're talking about their impact and their mentorship through that. So I don't really think it was a sell. I think it's just us continuing to grow the program. And then, like I said, we started with 5 or 6, and now we're up to 80. And it's just going to continue to grow. And we're making impacts in different classrooms now, with some adaptive PE, movement-driven learning, and all the other things that we're trying to bring to the campus. So we are truly K-8, and we are truly all-inclusive of everything that we're doing.
Well, now, Shane, when you guys were, thank you, Matthew. Shane, when you guys were developing the program, what did you see the role of the teachers in the program? Because we knew that the students, the college students, were going to go out to the campuses, the elementary schools, and work with the students. What did you see the role of the teachers being to support the program and the college students?
I'd like to share the mindset through the college professor lens, and then I think if we had the mindset through administrator and then actually with Ms. Leivas as my student at the time and now a teacher, I think this might bring it a more comprehensive, full circle approach, if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely.
My thought as the professor was, I can only guide and teach you so many times in a classroom, and how can we do exploratory phases and implementation in a live setting, and then get my students on board to creating something that they believed in, that they were able to go out and flourish. And then being prior to my college experience, I was a classroom teacher and administrator. I knew the importance and connection that could be built with the right mindset through leadership, right? So think about building and supporting whole child educational outcomes through physical activity while encouraging social interactions. And like Mr. Gilbert said, inclusivity, not just students learning physical skills, but a whole child approach. And so my mindset was, because I teach a multitude of classes, and that stems from theory and leadership, administration, physical education methods, adaptive physical education. And so to be able to bring this all full circle and in a multitude of areas, it's really been a nice arena to not only show our college, but hopefully we can show other colleges and then other elementary schools, other teachers that, hey, we can do this. And we did put that in the Healthy Learning Cultures Guide. If anybody wants more information on it, we can do that. But I wanted to set that up through my lens, because I think when you see it through the other two, you'll kind of understand how this all came together. And I don't think any one of us three could have done it without one of the other person, because it was such a team effort, and it still is today. But Diana's story she'll share next is truly inspirational.
Through a college student point of view, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So it was so amazing being in that class, having Hesse as my professor, because he really allowed us to come up with the program and do it on our own. And I thought that was an amazing opportunity for not just me, but all the students in my classroom to be leaders and be mentors, especially role models to these students during recess. And it's just been amazing, especially like interacting with the students. It was so fun, like to be like to play and be a kid again, and to even teach these students about sports and about college and how important they are.
Diana, now give me that perspective now that you are a teacher. How do you see your role now as a teacher?
As a teacher, I think the program really helps me as a teacher, because it I mean, we haven't talked about this, but not only do we interact at recess, but we also do movement-driven learning, which happens in the classroom. And those are like brain breaks, kind of, but involving movement. So SOAR program has been coming into my class, and my students have been so excited to do those activities, and to have a break out of your seat and to play a game but still involve learning, and to have a bunch of college students in your class and like making it fun. So I love it because I get to step back for a little bit and allow them to have a moment and be inspired as well.
Now, can you give me a short example of what a movement learning break may look like? The reason why I wanted you to give me just a example is because we have learning styles. And I think sometimes as educators, we forget that students do have different learning styles. And to be able to move that kind of static, even if that's not my primary learning style, sometimes I have to disconnect. And you call it that break. If I'm having that mental break and I'm doing something that requires movement, then I get to reset. And so if you could share just an example that someone listening could then take and utilize in their classroom, because they may not have thought about, oh, when I give the student the break, let it be a movement break versus just, I'm letting them have a break and they could still be doing something that's not really movement. But if you could share an example with us.
Exactly.
I have an idea.
Go ahead.
If this sounds good to the group, but I can kind of set it up from how we set it up, and then you could hear from the actual teacher that had it embedded, and then the administrator having the feedback from the teachers where it's happening might be a very impactful approach, if that's okay with everybody.
Yes.
All right, sounds good. So we basically have 3 levels when it comes to movement-driven learning, and that's also in the Healthy Learning Cultures Guide. But level 1 is just a standard brain break, typically 1 to 5 minutes. It's not academic focused, but still classroom management. Like you heard Ms. Leivas say, they have a break. It could be anything from I saw them do a heads up 7-up in 3rd grade. They did standing paper, rock, scissors in 5th grade. Our student athletes would come in, introduce themselves, and the classroom just erupted in cheers and celebrations and connectivity. But getting to pause for a moment at that level 1 was great. Then they came back the next week at a level 2, which we call energizers, and that's where we met with the classroom teacher and asked them what they were teaching that day. So we had a history lesson, a science lesson, and a math lesson. And so then our students and the teacher would get together and create a 3 to 5 minute brain break, but it was level 2, meaning we included math into the activity. So an example would be like math gymnastics, or like social studies. We did like a answer a question and you got to shoot a basket with trash on the floor, called it trashketball. Very creative things, but the kids got to reinforce their learning while doing a physical activity at the same time. And then the last level is, which we haven't done yet here in these classes, but the last level for educators would be how to make a fully integrated lesson plan, including movement-driven learning, with level 1 and level 2 opportunities. And so, Mr. Gilbert, you want to take it from here, or Ms. Leivas as a teacher or administrator? But that's kind of the setup for as the professor is designing it, and here comes the implementation, which is amazing.
I think from my perspective, what we did is we looked at classrooms and we targeted classrooms that needed support, and both working with our teachers as well as our students, because when you're looking at a grade 3 and a grade 5, those are opportunities for them to start to build the idea of how to not only manage your classroom, but manage your classroom effectively. So it's not just they're taking a break, put your head down and relax for 10 minutes. They're actually getting something out of it. And one of the moments that I shared with the group, they were in a 5th grade class, and the student and Dr. Hesse and I shared a moment with this. One of the students asked a question and said, "What was your favorite part of being here?" And he said, "You." And I was like, that's it, game over. That you hailed it. Like, I mean, that's the reason why we do all the things that we're doing. I mean, that's the home run. And it wasn't staged, it wasn't planned. The kid asked the Ottawa student, and to me, that everything that we're doing made sense right there.
Oh, that is so impactful, Matthews. To have the students say you.
Yeah,
I don't know what the teacher's dreams are, but I would think that that would be every teacher's dream. When you ask
right.
your student, what was the most your favorite part of today? What was the most impactful thing that you learned this week? And you say you were the most impactful, and the fact that you're the person that taught me. I mean, you can't ask for anything more.
And that's
But
just bringing
hearing
the
how
connections together. Yeah,
yeah, and I can see that, and I can see with the levels. And then, as Shane said, when you get to that level, I'm gonna call it 3, where you're integrating movement-driven learning into that lesson plan. It's almost like you can't lose
right.
because you
Yep, that's it.
have sort of systematically gotten the student accustomed to that component. And it's like now it's like a sponge. I want more of it. And you couple that with the true academics that teachers are having to teach and students will be tested upon. And it's a win-win. Um,
Absolutely.
so, our time is almost up. But now, Diana, I've been waving to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I can't do the names today because I've got a whole laundry list, but we do appreciate your joining us. And I know some are here supporting who are probably source athletes, student athletes who are actually working in. Hello, Adrian. I got a couple people in Jacqueline. Jacqueline P2 has joined us, and Adrian Devasto. And some of you may be teachers, some of you may be parents who are also trying to gather this information because you know how important it is for our students to be successful and for our schools to be healthy. And again, as I said earlier, it takes everyone to be a part of that village and build that quilt that's going to support our students. So, Diana, for those students, no, Diana, my question is shifting. For those teachers who did not come with either your experience having worked in the SOAR program and working in the schools last year as a student athlete, and now you're a first year teacher. There are first year teachers who are going to listen to this. I can think of one that I know who's related to me that are going to listen to this. What piece of advice would you give them as it relates to incorporating the movement driven learning into their classroom? Maybe they can't do it every day, but at least once or twice a week. What advice would you give them?
Start small. I mean, we can always do level 1, brain break, get the kids out of their seat. I mean, all day the students are sitting in their seats, and studies show that movement drives cognitive function. So it's very important that some way, at least if it's once a week, to implement students getting out of their seats and getting that movement in.
So it is, just incorporating it. And I was thinking about Shane with I think he said social studies, and I was thinking about math, and I was thinking about different ways that you could actually have the students up, depending upon what the lesson is. Certainly in social studies, they could be acting out a component of the lesson, and even with mathematics, sometimes we use manipulatives to help them to learn a concept. They could become the manipulative, you know, but we have to think outside the box, because if they're the manipulative for a component, then that means they're moving. But as you said, studies show that movement does correlate with increased learning. So we just have to think outside the box. And what I'm also getting from you is that when you say start small for teachers, first year teachers, they're on a learning curve. They're not going to know everything, but stay encouraged. Look for resources that can support what they're doing. Also, um, as we come to a close, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to leave some parting words with our audience about any challenges that they may perceive and how they can address those challenges. You know, as Matthew's already said, as it related to his school, he had the data. And once the SOAR program was implemented, he had the data after the program was being implemented, and he could show those at the school that the program was making an impact, and the teachers knew that it was making an impact because they could see it. But again, you know, sometimes it's a challenge to make change, and change occurs slow. Matthew, you hinted at, well, you didn't hint, but you basically indicated you had two different principles that this program has been implemented under. Well, yeah, if I'm the new principal, if you can show me the data, I'm like, yes, we're going to keep this program. But I'm data driven, and most people are. But again, it was a program that I didn't bring there. And sometimes people are not as open to continuing something. So I want each of you to think about, from your perspective, Shane, you're at the university level. You know, now you're a first year teacher, Diana, and you're an administrator, Matthew. People are thinking, I want to do this, but how do I do it? Because they're thinking about all the challenges to being able to get something like this implemented at their school. I want you each to give them a piece of advice about how it can work. And I know that you guys are going to offer your services, because I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell them how they can contact you at the end. But what you can do, what they can do at this moment in time just to get started. So I'm going to start with you, Shane.
Can I defer to Mr. Gilbert
Yes,
to
sir.
start it out? I think if that's okay with you,
Yes, sir.
I'll close it up. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just what I would say, and Diana's kind of mentioned it too, is start small, and then just make sure you're tracking all the information that you need. I think it's an opportunity to collaborate, and it's an opportunity to. There's a challenge regardless. There's a challenge if you're facing discipline. There's a challenge if you're facing mentorship, especially at the K-8 level. My dream and aspiration and my vision is to make an impact with each and every student, but I can't do it alone. Bringing in the University of Ottawa and working with student athletes like Diana, and then having the opportunity to now bring her in as a teacher. I mean, she's amazing. And having the opportunity, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if SOAR wasn't there. And having there's so many layers to how this can be successful. And it's not selfishly, it is for me, the discipline side, the positive communication, all the positive things that come from it. But the benefits are now I get to work with Miss Leivas every day as a classroom teacher. We have another University of Ottawa student that we've hired on as a teacher. We have a number that are going to do like internships for athletics. So there is a benefit for the university as well. And bringing in young student athletes to make an impact is what I'm here for. And looking at the bigger picture and the vision, and just like you said, with targeted goals in school, things that you need to, your CIP and the continuous improvement program, you are going to hit those goals by working with organizations like this. And that's what I would always look at the bigger picture and the bigger value that you're getting. Yes, there are challenges, but there are strategies and ways that it can work. And we are living proof that it is working.
Thank you, Matthew. And you are living proof, because you're in year 2 of implementing the SOAR program at your school, and the student data is showing that it is successful. So I know that you're going to continue to implement it. And guys, this is an example. It can make a difference, and he is in his 2nd year of implementation. Diana?
Like I said, I think it's really important to start small for those teachers, and by starting small, you can play music and get them out of their seats. We can go to level 2, and we can integrate our learning into it and make like in my class, SOAR had a ball, and we had 2 lines, and we did like a multiplication problem. So whoever answered first got to take a chance to hit the target. So it's like being creative and trying to think of how can I get my students out of my seat while also incorporating learning. I know it's not easy, or it's not really possible for those other schools to get college students out as easy as we are now. But I think really showing examples of maybe like college students and really exposing students to um, accomplished athletes and people in life, I think that's really inspiring and motivating for students.
And what I'm hearing there is there's always resources. We may have to think a little bit harder because, as you said, everybody won't have a university that's that close to them. I think about where my parents actually live. We have a community college, but we don't have a university that's close to us. But it doesn't mean that the teachers in my home school system can't be creative. They can bring in former educators that may have retired to help do some things to support what they're doing. I love the example you gave about using the ball to hit the target when you're learning multiplications. And we know that multiplication tables are so important. And the way that students learn them now is so totally different from how I learned them. But I want them to learn them the way I learned them. But that's Dr. Taz being old, I guess. But but at least I want them to know it because it's so important. So I like that you were sharing some practical strategies that teachers, whether they're new teachers or novice teachers, I should say, or they're veteran teachers, they can implement it slowly but surely, starting small. And who would think, oh, use the ball. If I get my multiplication, and this is what I'm interpreting what you said. If I get my multiplication answer correct, I get to throw the ball at a target. Oh, everybody wants to throw the ball. I don't know what the target is, but everybody wants to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a really good strategy for teachers to utilize. So thank you so much, Diana. Shane, I'm throwing it to you now.
All right, I'll close this up. First thing from my lens is the trust I had in my students, like Miss Leivas, and there was 11 others in that classroom. We call them the OGs of SOAR. We all collaborated together to put this in motion. So trust is a huge thing. They have to have trust in me, and vice versa. But then we have to take it to Mr. Gilbert's
Mhm.
school, right? And I've never met him before. So that trust became just like we do
Mhm.
in education.
Mhm.
We make connections before we deliver content. The same thing happened here. We built relationships, and these relationships will persevere for a long, long time. But that trust in the administration, the students, it has gone a long way. Be flexible. Besides the trust, be flexible and open to creative mindsets to be able to put this together. Find the place in your community. Um, the three of us are open to help guide your specific school or college or community center, whatever you have to help kind of keep this going. But I also had to trust the deans of our college, and they got to come out and see it firsthand. And so next week we're presenting to the entire educational community of all three of our campuses, and we're going to be doing a similar thing to show that this can be done with the trust, the communication, and the flexibility and creative mindsets. And you guys know that if you don't have a junior college or a main college nearby you, we have a lot more flexibility at the college level than the high school settings, but there are opportunities and we can help kind of make those connections to promote a healthier future. I think just I'd close it like this. The second most impactful thing that I shared today was Miss Leivas' story. And that was, she was a student in my classroom. We trusted each other. We created a program. She reached out to Mr. Gilbert. The three of us got together. We created a program and we implemented that program. She then got a job at that school after she graduated and is now implementing the program into her classroom that she started the program at. And for me to share that story with any educator at any level, it just hits home and fills our heart tanks. And I want to celebrate the students in my classroom currently, the 80 that we are out there grinding what we started and now 3.0 and helping children with disabilities and helping in administration and sports programs and the recess. to our original 12 OGs in the classroom, to the administration at Kingswood and their district personnel that have gotten together to help with extra fingerprint clearance and volunteer badges and everything else, and the deans of my college to be able to put all this together. I just truly, it's a blessing, and I appreciate everybody. And thank you, Dr. Toss, for bringing this all together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Shane. And I'm just smiling like I'm a parent of all of this. Because, when you think about all the moving parts, but you guys did it. And so I want the audience to understand it can be done because there was a lot of layers that you guys had to move through in order to make recess accessible for everyone. You understood the importance of the community. You got all of these different communities really to come together. You've got the college community, you've got the student athletes, you've got the school, you got the parents, and every community within that school to come together, and the district to come together and to make this happen. Because we know it's no simple feat to get through the fingerprinting process and getting the background clearance, because that is so important now. But you guys did it. And what you've done is, through this whole process, you created a culture where stakeholders understand the importance of movement as it relates to students' whole body well-being, as well as that whole child. And you're making a difference one student at a time and one school at a time. And now we got two schools that we're making a difference in. So my thing is kudos to all of you. And for the SOAR members that have joined me, because I know some are SOAR members, I saw that when Diana was speaking to some of them when we first started. Thank you so much for coming and supporting Diana, Dr. Hesse to you guys, and Mr. Gilbert to you guys. Thank you so much for supporting them, because the work that you're doing is so important. So kudos to you guys also. There may have been a few family members that I may have seen named in here too. Thank you for supporting your family member who's been on my show today. And for those who just come out and support me all the time, I saw your names there too. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, I'm going to give each of my guests an opportunity to tell you guys how you can contact them, because they got a wealth of information. And they want to make sure that students are being successful, not just in Arizona, but across the country. And they are open to helping you to be successful in your school. So I'm going to start with Diana, and then I'm going to go to Matthew, and then I'm going to let Shane tell us how folks can contact him.
Yeah, so you can contact me by my email. My email is dianaleivas7@gmail.com. And I'm open to any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you, Diana. Mr. Gilbert?
Happy to reach out. And anybody has any questions, anything I can do to support. I'm super big in growing all the things that we are doing, and mentorship and leadership is something that our youth needs more than ever now. You can reach me at matthew.gilbert@dysart.org. Don't hesitate to reach me out through Instagram, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Hesse and close us out.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. I do want to leave us with one thing too, and then I'll give you the website you guys can go to. One thing we forgot to mention is Kingswood Elementary has a program. It's called the Shield program, and so positive behavior interventions. They give out cards for things that students do well. Well, if they receive a card, we have connected them. Mr. Gilbert, myself, and some of my students have connected them with the head coaches at the college. So those students get to go to our college games, and thank you to our athletic director and everyone else. They get to go to those schools, college games, baseball, football, volleyball we've had so far for free, and to take their parents and community. We've put up Kingswood Elementary on the Jumbotron at the school game for baseball. So it really has come full circle in a very embracing each other's community. And if you guys would like to know more, we are writing a book on this, so that will be coming out, so stay tuned. But we do have that in our Healthy Learning Cultures Guide, and you can find that and my contact information on healthylearningcultures.org. So it's healthylearningcultures.org.
Well, that was a good note to leave us on, Shane. And thank you for everyone who's still joining us. And um, Nana's, I'm going to mispronounce all of this. Nana, I'm just going to say Nana. She said, very
Hi,
impressive
Dad.
work. Keep it up. You know, that's, I remember when I worked my first job in counseling was in an alternative school. And I was amazed that students hadn't traveled from one city to the next. And I took a student to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. They'd never been to Chapel Hill, and Chapel Hill was probably like 30 minutes away. And so when you talk about the students being able to go to the college campus and see the games and the names of their schools up on the Megatron, that is so impactful because you're changing those kids' lives. You're changing the lives of those parents. And I don't want people to take that for not a big deal because it is a huge deal. Because we sometimes just take it for granted that everyone's had the same opportunities that we had. And as either Shane or Diana talked about, the athletes are saying that this is who I was when I was in the third grade, you know? And so even for them, it's coming full circle. So again, kudos to everybody for everything that you're doing. Kudos for the SHIELD program, Mr. Matthews, because that's making a difference in those families' lives. And I just applaud all of you for the work that you're doing. And I did hear that plug, Shane. Y'all writing the book. That shameless plug. I know that when you get your book finished, you're going to let me know so you can come back and share it with my audience, correct?
Will do. Will do.
Well, thank you guys so much for being with me today on Talk with Toss. Thank you for everyone that joined us again. We really appreciate your support. And my sign off has never changed and is not going to change. Before you take care of someone else, make sure you take care of yourself first because there's a lot to be done to support our schools, but you can't help our schools if you're not whole yourself. So make sure you take care of yourself. And again, guys, thank you so much for joining me today on Talk with Taz. Bye now.